Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our Able Voice Debrief series. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Alyssa Stone of Dynamic Lynks.
Hello!
We're so excited to have you join our debrief to talk about our episode with our panelists, all about our creative business models.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I know a lot of those panelists and they are awesome. And I know music therapy is just such a vast reaching field. It's cool to see what everybody does all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So many wonderful initiatives that are starting to come out. And I'm excited to learn more and more. And maybe people, after listening to the episode and listening to this debrief even, will come forward and be inspired to do new things. So yeah. It's a really exciting platform that we have, Kim.
I agree. And I think this year sparked a lot of creativity in all of us to kind of pivot and reevaluate what can we do. So I think everyone's starting to come up with great things. Hopefully we're not saturating everybody. I think maybe there's going to be too many things, but that's okay. No such thing as too many things.
Lots of options.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so funny because often people, they lump music therapy in as this kind of niche, small knit community or field. And, what do you think about that? Do you think that this is, a space where people have room to create and grow beyond, direct client contact work?
Absolutely. Why not? If other therapy fields do it, I say, why can't we do it? And it's small and niched, yes, but I'm based in the US. There's 9,000 of us in the United States. I don't think that's small. That's not tiny. There's over 160 institutions teaching music therapy, and we all have different skill sets. I think capitalizing on that is great, and maybe it'll keep people in the field. I don't know if you have this issue where you are in Canada, but in the US, we have a lot of issues with people staying in the world of music therapy because of insurance billing. So if they can pivot and find different avenues to still use the degree that they spent all that money getting, I say yes, do it. I think there's endless space for it. We need it. So many people need to be exposed to it. Do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think from some of the people in my circle, I've definitely seen that maybe not hesitation, but people leaving and doing other things because there are certain barriers. So you're right. If we can diversify and find ways to still fuel that creativity or to use the skills that we've accrued in our long education processes, then why the heck not, right?
Yes, absolutely. And everyone's a different person, so they bring a different skill set to the table. So if there's something you do really well that someone else wants to learn, put it out there. I think there's so much space for us to learn and grow from each other. The biggest issue we have, I would say, is less of we're a niche, but more of people are concerned about the broad scope of what we do. But I think that's where the beauty lies in music therapy. And so many people do different skills across the board, capitalize on it, hone on it, and then share that knowledge so we can all grow as clinicians.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And so you have your own creative business model. You have your own stuff going on. So I'm wondering, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that and how did Dynamic Lynks start, or what was your vision along this entrepreneurial journey? How has it all come to be?
Sure. Yeah. So we definitely pivoted in this last year, kind of shifting that creative business model and looking at what can we offer just outside direct client contact services, because that was eliminated. So we said, what can we do? But we've always produced original curriculum and CDs. So I'll go back to how it started and then we can get to where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just celebrated our 5th birthday in March. So yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll be having a birthday party in the fall if things keep going well and we can kind of get our community together. So when Dynamic Lynks started, I just saw a need for music therapy to be in the private practice setting. And there's a ton in the greater Chicago area. That's where we're located. There's a ton of private practice clinics. So I was already inspired by those individuals. And I was working in schools and I was just seeing not the impact that I wanted to see in the group context. I really wanted to make tangible change for these children's lives in a meaningful way. And I knew that meant also involving the parent and the family, because then we can work on transfer of those skills at home. So that's always been a huge part of our mission, of our vision, is to incorporate the whole family system into the treatment plan, whether that's in the treatment room or outside of the treatment room. So that's always been weaved in our core, that we're really creating a space for children, adults to feel welcome and their families to feel welcome and safe with them. And then we've released a few different albums. I think after a year of being open, we did our Mini Musical Minds album came out, and we have 6 original curriculum now. And in the pandemic, when we had to get really creative, we created our coping tools workbook, which is like the best thing ever. I pull it out in session all the time. Miss Ava and I collaborated on it, and it's just a beautiful piece of magical wonderness that I think everyone should have. But it's a really fun telehealth in-person asset. And we got there because we had already been making original curriculum, making CDs, doing a lot of original songwriting for sessions. And that came more from necessity than creativity. We love to be creative. We love to flex those muscles. But we were also finding that lower need children with autism who were struggling socially, struggling executive function wise, struggling with their mental health needs, didn't have accessible curriculum that was also age appropriate and, cognitive skill appropriate, where we were still challenging them to work on these concepts. And that's kind of where the coping tools workbook grew from. And I think that's where our strength lies, is pivoting to meet the needs of our community.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all of that. I think that there's value in a lot of the things that you said, and across music therapy in general. I think really focusing on the family unit as part of the therapeutic process is a very special thing. I find value when family members come and sit in on sessions. So involving them right from the start, I think, is very special. Maybe it shouldn't even be a unique way to approach therapy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
especially with children.
Absolutely. So that's that one is incredibly special. 2, I've had lots of conversations with other therapists about, this kind of identity shift or crisis almost between your therapist identity and your musician identity. And when you go into the world of like creating CDs and resources and other things like that, it's almost like bridging those 2 gaps and bringing them together. And so how do you feel about that? How do you feel about creating music and putting it out there into the world? Obviously it's very like it's still clinically based and has intention, therapeutic intention behind it. Sure. But that can be a barrier for some people, not, putting those kinds of resources out into the world.
Yeah. I mean, I feel great about it. I've always been a performer, so I think the fear of having it out there wasn't an element for me. But I think if it's something you're interested in doing, just do it. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is someone says, I don't like it. And I hate to spoil the fun, but someone's always not going to like it. Someone's always not going to like you. That's okay. We're all different humans. I say put it out there. And what I find, because I was doing a lot of like creative songwriting, we just released I hope this isn't a controversial topic, COVID vaccine song for kids. So I've been working on that, and a storybook and a checklist to go along with it. And I spent way too many hours on it, but it's so fun because I'm flexing those creative muscles. So I think it brings a different level of joy to your work, and there's therapeutic intention and meaning and all of those things behind it. But I think the pressure is off as far as delivering to the client too. Mm-hmm. Like they can do with it as they will. So you just have that, here's what I have to give the world, take it. Which it just feels nice. Whereas with clients, it's immediately like, here, I made this beautiful thing for you. I hate that. Okay. At least maybe a couple people will be like, I love it. This is awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yeah, kids, they're very honest with what they want and don't.
They're allowed to have their feelings too. That's okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And making those concrete decisions. Hey, we love it. We love to see you indicating your preferences. Check.
Yep. Autonomy is valuable across the board, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's good that you can find, like, within this model, you can find that space to be creative or to put things out into the world in a slightly different way, so that you are, like you said, still fueling that creativity and feeling excited and passionate about what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. And it can be hard for therapists. Like, we went through a rut of not creating, because when we did make the coping tools workbook, we were like, we have to get this out right now. Our community needs this right now. We made it in April of 2020. So right after everything shifted. And I think we might have given ourselves a little creative burnout of like setting those concrete deadlines. And same kind of with this COVID vaccine song, but it was just so fun. I'm like, okay, it was one song. When it's a whole workbook, it's a whole other story. So I can see too how it's hard for us to force creativity or say like, here's the deadline on being creative. Because that's not always how creativity works. But it does feel good when you do it. And I think we need to weave it into our structure a little more to make sure. The reason we got into music therapy is we love music. So making sure we're not losing the joy that comes from that, because inherently, I think that's why people come to us. They don't always understand, especially here, they do not understand what music therapy is, but they know like, oh, it's so relaxing. It's this, it's that. And I'm like,
absolutely,
you know,
all the time.
or
all the
right, right, or tangible functional skill work, but okay, yep, it's also
Building
relaxing.
blocks.
You're right, yeah, right, like, okay. But I used to shut the door on that, but I think there's space to leave it open and say, yeah, it's creative and it's fun. Like your child, we specifically work with mostly children. Your child has to do work all day at their therapeutic preschool and then in all these other therapies across the board. And this is one more thing on their list. Why not make it enjoyable and fun and creative? Yeah. So I think we can lean into that a little more sometimes and say, yes, we're working on all these things. And guess what? You get to have fun while you do it.
Yeah. I love that you looped in again the connection between creativity and burnout, because I think that often people think that they're on the opposite ends of a spectrum, and I would disagree with that. I don't know how you feel, but sometimes they can happen simultaneously, and it's okay to be able to pinpoint that and identify what's happening so that you can continue creating and being inspired. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, they are tied together. So there's this thing called flow state. Have you ever heard of like, I'm in flow state?
Yeah.
So I don't know the article on this, so I can't cite that it's like evidence research, but I listened to a podcast a couple times about getting in and out of flow state, which does have research behind it. But when you're in flow, that's when you're performing optimally. You're in this creative energy. You're really zoned in on it. But it takes twice as long to like refuel your flow as it did to be there. So if you were in flow for 2 hours, it's going to take you 4 hours of like recovery time to kind of regroup and get back. So that was always important for me too, that if we're working as clinicians all day, every day, then trying to be creative and trying to do this, of course you're going to get burnout. Yeah, it's fun. It's your outlet, but there's also pressure to perform in that space.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a really good encapsulation of that concept, because like Hayley said, I think we sometimes forget, okay, I'm feeling burnt out, I'll go and be creative. Right. That'll fix it. But yeah, if we're still recovering from doing all the other things and finding that barrier to our creativity, it's good to have that awareness of how much we're actually putting on ourselves, because like you said, yeah, you like it, you enjoy it, but you're still using energy.
Yep. And it's so tied in with work. So if you're tired from work and you're a musician at work, that's not going to be necessarily your go-to like self-care, I'm burnt out routine. Like mine's cooking or watching Grey's Anatomy. Like
Yeah.
right. Something that's completely different because yes, I love music and I love making music, but if I have to like set that boundary of I gotta get out of work mode, I don't think music's gonna help me get out of work mode. Unfortunately. For me
Same.
personally. Yes. Everybody's different.
Yeah, exactly. I think just taking note and taking stock of what you need in your flow state.
Yes. And recognizing I was in flow, I need time. And some people don't. Some people are quick recoverers. Some people can be in flow for hours and hours and hours and be fine. But typically, if you were there, you need some time to regroup after. So give yourself space to do that. And if you're like, why? Why am I feeling like this? Because you just exacerbated all that energy into one spot. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have so many things that are going on at once as a business owner, entrepreneur. And you kind of already answered this a little bit, but
Sure.
I wonder what inspires your creative business model for Dynamic Lynks.
Well, I think our vision statement kind of speaks to that. So our vision statement is that our first duty is to our client. Our second duty is to our employees. And if we do that well, we will be successful. And I think that's what drives our creative energies is the individuals we serve and the team we get to work with. I think we all missed that connection of human contact. And I'm so sorry. It's activating all those traumatic things for you all right now. I'm so sorry. There's a lot to be said about human contact and seeing that motivation. And I think that really drives it because our work can be exhausting. It can be thankless. It can be very hard and challenging. We all work with different populations. But when you see those moments or you get that email that's like, thanks for all you do, we really see it, it gives you that energy to keep going. So I think the humans that we get to serve really drive that. And then pivoting to virtual and myself doing a lot more virtual things, I have to really celebrate those moments of fulfillment because while I'm being creative and flexing all these different muscles, you're not getting that immediate feedback that you would feel of the humans around you. So people drive our creative model, our community, and just creating a larger community and helping as many people as we can drives that for sure. You know, it's the cheesy therapy answer, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that's really great. I think that's beautiful. Like all of these business models that we have talked about in the most recent episode and that we're seeing in the world, there's a story there, right? There's a reason that we make these things happen, that things are born, and that we're so passionate about continuing to work on them. And it's really nice to get to hear what the root of Dynamic Lynks is. And I think it's so beautiful and so important. It's the people and the connection, and yeah.
It's the people.
Exactly. We had an episode that it was released before this that just talks about humans being together in music. And I think in general, just people being together in community, and then to add the layer of being able to be together in music with the services that we offer and the programs and the endless creative business structures that we have. I think that it's just such an important thing never to forget that we are serving people, and that connection is ultimately what inspires everything else.
Absolutely. And you can work, I'm a skill-based therapist 100%. I'm an evidence-based therapist 100%. And I spent so much time being like, and the goals and the this and the that and the skills. If you don't have therapeutic rapport and connection and that element of being a therapist, you're not getting anywhere. You're the person, you're the vessel for that client. It's about humans, whether that's through a screen or in person, because we can do that virtually too, but really being the vessel. And it's funny that we keep saying this word community because we just changed our slogan. And we have like a beautiful mural wall. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram that just got painted. It's incredible. Shout out to Kelsey. She's amazing. So our new slogan that we kind of just, we're updating, rebranding always, is linking the mind, linking the body, creating community. because so much we want that space where people can feel connected in music. And the top of the mural says, music links us together.
Aww.
And it's just perfect. I'm so happy with it.
Awesome. Ah, I love that.
Small joys. I don't do art. I just do music and dance. So it's so nice to have someone else who makes beautiful art come into your space.
And yoga, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I do yoga too.
That's amazing.
Lots of movement. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's good that you have people that you can bring into that and collaborate with, because we do not have all the skills in the world.
No, it's cool if you did. And I love to capitalize on where you are. But I think as a business owner too, you learn to fill the voids of what you don't do well. And hopefully everyone gets to a point where their business is successful enough that they can pay people to do the things they don't do well, or the things they really don't like doing. And that's okay. Everyone has different strengths and challenges.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sticking with this challenges concept, perhaps, oftentimes I think the initiative, like we have lots of different programs, lots of different things going on. And like you said, we need to stretch our skill set a bit, or find different ways to do it. So I'm wondering if there are any Dynamic Lynks programs or initiatives that have really pushed your creative boundaries, that you might feel like sharing a bit about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is kind of going to be like a subtle plug for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in that word community, so we recently launched our Dynamic Community, which is a space for therapists to come together and learn neuro-affirming and neuro-inclusive strategies to use in the therapy space for children, teens, and adults. So if you're listening and you're like, yes, I need that, dynamiclinks.com/community. Check it out. It's only $20 a month, and you get group supervision, which I think is, can be really helpful too, to learn from each other. Because part of the thing that spawned that creatively is right before the pandemic, in probably the beginning of February 2020, we did an intervention swap with another music therapy company here. And oh my goodness, I was like, we need to be doing these at least twice a year. I know we're all busy, but at least twice a year, because to see the cool things they came up with, we were so inspired. And then we said, okay, how can we contribute in a space? What do we specialize in? What do we do well? And that launched the Dynamic Community program. And it's a space for us to share, connect, and learn from one another to support our clients in the best way. I feel like we've built up a decent following of people who also work with individuals with autism. So that tends to be our niche and who we want to help support as well. And that has really pushed me to make sure I'm delivering quality content to clinicians, because it's different than to your client. I have to explain the how, and the why and the science, which I love doing. I have a degree in education too, so I love being a teacher. I love helping and supporting people. But it's a different side of your brain that you have to flex, and creatively problem solving when you're in those group supervisions of, I have this client who, and you have to say, okay, okay. And luckily, got like a decade of clinical experience under my belt, so I can say, oh yeah, I've seen that. But you never know. You get some out of left field, and I'm like, let me do a little research, and I'll help you out there. Yes,
keep you on your toes.
Yeah, and I think challenging ourselves to be better in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So much of this year has been spent talking around that. I attended, and Ava and my team attended Hayley's training was that October last fall? It's a construct. Yeah. And we created from that a culture code for Dynamic Lynks, and really a mission that we want to represent there. And I think continually learning and growing in that regard within the community we serve as well, the neurodiversity community, and really listening to those voices and figuring out how does therapy fit into that world is a really creative thing we get to flex. And I think as music therapists, we can fulfill, but it can be challenging because everyone has different perspectives, and we really have to say, this is where we fit and this is where we don't fit, and this is what we can and can't do. So that's been just some of the ways we've been creatively pivoting and making new products. We've got some new things coming down the pipeline, hopefully for back to school. And then next holiday season, so not for a while, but we've got a big one coming
awesome.
next holiday season, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on all of the things that
thank you.
You know, you've been able to do over the last little bit, and you know, it's like you said before, it's a thankless job. Sometimes it's a time-consuming job, especially if you're also the business owner on top of the clinician, and you're in both roles right now. So congratulations on being able to, you know, successfully pivot through a very, very challenging and difficult year for many reasons. And so we'll include a lot of the show notes in the show notes, some of the links that you talked about, so people can have direct access to those and learn more if they want to. Before I head into kind of our last question, I wanted to know if you want to do some more plugs of like just letting people know where they can find you if they want to connect with you. Where can they look up Alyssa or Dynamic Lynks?
Yes. Yeah. Please follow us on Instagram. Dynamic Lynks is at Dynamic Lynks, Lynks with a Y on Instagram. And then I also have a page where I do tips, tricks, and I do clinical supervision of therapists directly one-to-one as well. That's at alyssastone.co on Instagram. So you can find me, and I'm happy to answer questions too. If you're like, I heard you say this, tell me more. Pop on over there, send me a message. And check out dynamiclinks.com/resources. That's our free resource portal. So we make a ton of things we update every month and send directly to you. We have those COVID vaccine resources I was talking about coming out today, which is so exciting. So by the time you're listening to this, they'll be live. They'll be there in living color. And where else to find us? Oh, our YouTube channel, youtube.com. Just search Dynamic Lynks. That might be the easiest way to do it. I could give the link for the show notes too, but I think you're watching this on YouTube, so you're here already. Come find us. Yes.
Incredible. I'm sure there will be many people that want to head your way.
We just want to help you. We just want to support you. And if we can make a little extra money while doing it, that's great. But we try to put it at an accessible price point too for all the therapists out there. So we've got free stuff. We've got medium expensive stuff. We don't really have any very expensive stuff. So you're safe there.
Awesome. Oh, okay. So to end, we have kind of a big question for you.
Okay.
But it kind of sounds like you've been doing a lot of thinking about this over the last year or so, and in general. We ask everybody that comes on our podcast, what do you hope for the future of music therapy?
What I hope for the future of music therapy. So many things. I hope, number one, in the US, that we can access insurance and the healthcare system a little better so that the people who really need these services can access them. And that means Medicare and Medicaid too, so that we're able to serve every community that wants to come see us. So I would love to eliminate the boundary of financial obligation. But the flip side, the other thing I'd like to see for music therapists is that we operate from a place of deserving abundance, that we worked really hard to get here. Hopefully you're spending the time to be an exceptional clinician. We spent a lot of money to get our degree. We do deserve compensation and value for that time. So I would love to see therapists asking for what they deserve, being given what they deserve financially, and across the board, the teachers who educate us, the practicum supervisors, the internship supervisors. So much of this work just is a cycle of being unpaid. So I would love to see music therapists across the board value themselves while still giving comprehensive access to services. And I do think there's space for that. I think we can do it.
Yes.
So many people operate from this defeated, like, well, I'll always be broke or I'll never be this. And we can't think that way because we're just perpetuating that expectation. We shouldn't be overworked and underpaid. We should be deserving of our value. So that's really what I hope, is that the world continues to see our value, and that you, music therapists listening, see your value too, and you deserve accurate, adequate compensation. Yes. Soapbox. All the snaps.
All the snaps. Oh man.
I could
Because
probably
I chugged my coffee. So sorry.
No,
we need that too.
Right?
I need all the
Talk
energy.
about this all day.
Yes.
Coffee is what gets us through the day.
Yes. I was in creative flow for too long, so I got to reboot. Sometimes you have to cheat it, y'all. Sometimes you got to cheat it. It's okay.
Do what works. We do what works.
Exactly. Like Hayley said, I do a lot of things, and sometimes that means coffee, and self-care looks a little different, and that's okay. Everybody is their own human. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. I mean, this was a wonderful conversation, and I think we'll probably chat again in the future.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, there's lots to discover with Dynamic Lynks, and you're a lovely person that I've had the opportunity to connect with, and so I'm sure just your energy and spirit will come through through the episode as well.
Yeah, I love to just give those good vibes off. So hopefully everyone feels a little inspired from listening to this and goes out and crushes it in the world of music therapy. Use your creativity. It's our biggest asset that we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Snaps to all of that.
Snaps. All the snaps.
Snap.
Well, thank you for having me too. It was really a pleasure to be on. I know you all are so wonderful and do amazing things. I don't have my water bottle, but I have your stickers all over my sweet music therapy water bottles. So thanks for always making the coolest stuff.
That's awesome.
Thank you. We're excited.
Thank you.
We're excited. Stay tuned because there are some more things coming.
Oh, okay. I will. I'm excited for it.